First day on the oak framing, so I'm going to be working on the braces. So we need that pack at the back. I think I'm going to do these in the workshop. Going to be easier. I've got a few operations to do on the spindle moulder with these and run them through the bandsaw as well. So if you can get that pack, put it by the workshop. This is all green oak that I'm working with, so it's really heavy to lug around. Air dried is quite a bit lighter because it's lost a lot of that moisture content, but equally air dried is a little bit harder to work with and also a bit more sort of beaten up, so you tend to get more twisted timber and a few more imperfections in it while you're trying to work with it. So there's pros and cons to both. Obviously green oak, you're going to see a lot more movement over time in splits, cracking, warping and twisting of the frame, which some people feel is character and actually prefer. I don't actually know where this oak's come from. I'll try and find out, but I assume it's European oak of some kind. Guess, if I had to guess anywhere, it'd probably be French oak, but I will endeavour to find out where it's actually come from. Beautiful. So there we go, that little jig will give me the outside cut for my braces, so that's the ends of the tenons. So I can get all of them cut out quite nice and easily. I'm going to make a little box jig, again to use the HK85 to cut the shoulders, and I'll use the spindle moulder with a saw blade in it to run tenons down on there nice and accurately. And then them screw holes where I've screwed the jig in just here, this is going to have like a curved section cut out of it. So this, I think the brace is about 150 mil out of this 300 mil timber, so there's quite a deep curve coming out of this section here, and they all need bandsawing as well. That's one done. Let's do 24 more. Hey, hope we got a visitor. Trigger. Who is he? Who is it? Make yourself at home. That's what we've got left. So them ones that I managed to get 2 out of, we ordered 2 spare just in case there's some dodgy bits of wood, and then there's I think 6 or 7 that I managed to get 2 braces out of the single length, thanks to them being a bit longer than we expected. So that's all nice, a bit of spare wood there. So we've got 20 braces cut out to shape, ready to go. So I've ordered a saw blade, should be coming today, and we can get these tenon saw cuts cut on the spindle moulder, just 80mm deep into them joint cuts that I've pre-made. Right, so my plan is, now that they're all cut, is to make a really accurate jig to cut the shoulders of the braces. So much the same as a trap saw runs down the track using the groove in the bottom of the saw. I've bought some alley, which is the same dimensions as that bit that sticks up on your track saw track, and I'm going to build like a plywood template of the brace shape that I want, with the accurate shoulders made into that template using this track. So I can put my plywood template on my brace, screw or clamp it down, then just run my track saw along these rails that are screwed to that template, and I'll get exactly the same cuts every time on all the braces. I'm not going to use my track saw, I'm going to use the HK. The idea is on my plywood jig to have these rails set so the saw can't wander. Should get a dead accurate saw cut through the shoulder, nice and square. I've got a slight problem that I've just been scratching my head over, in that to set these the right distance away from the shoulders to run the saw down, they're going to interact like this. So obviously you can't run your saw through that rail, which leaves me with then if I cut them back so that I can work from both angles, and leaves the end of the cut with a chance to wobble, because the track saw rails are crap. They're sort of like a pressured wedge both sides. So as soon as you lose this rail on your track saw, the front of the saw can move left and right. It'll get like a dodgy joint at the top of every shoulder. So I think what I'm going to do is actually space these apart further than the joint, so I can get a full sort of rail, supported rail through for the track saw on both sides. And all I'll have to do is fix this brace inside the box, cut one end, then slide the brace along, refix it to the box to a mark from that first cut, so they're all the same length, and then cut the other end. And that means I'm not going to manhandle each brace twice. Like what I really wanted to avoid was doing one end and then doing the other. I want to do it all at once for every piece, move it on, and it's done. So I think that'll work well. I'll just make it longer than I need, give me the clearance to run the saw through. I'll just have to slide the brace down within the jig itself. Drilling stuff is just an absolute dream now. I'm going to go for a 4.5mm drill. I think I want that size countersink. I've just marked 100mm, so I'll drill a hole in from the end, move it down to my 100mm mark, give a set of holes down. Just taking a little burr off the back so everything sits nicely, and proper countersink off the front. I'm trying to screw something accurately, you're never going to land it perfectly first time. So just get it as near as you can that first attempt, and then you can just, once it's seated, give them a gentle tap to adjust, and then use your other screws within the fitting to get that absolutely perfect position. Then if you've got a perfectly bored counter bore and you want to centre the screw, spin it backwards for a couple of revolutions, and it will start that screw driving in exactly the right spot. It's better than drilling a hole, unless you're using like a hinge drill or some sort of drilling aid. better way of centering your screw than any other method. See how that didn't move at all? I should now be able to run my track saw down that. Got a couple of square lines on that to work to. Before I separate them, I need the strips of wood now to just separate them apart. The thickness of the braces plus maybe a couple of mil. This bit here is just the dream. All I can say is don't look at the price, just buy it, use it, and never look at your bank statement, but that's the best thing you'll ever buy. It's just dreamy. If you're thinking, why is it not spinning that screw backwards to centre it? It's because I'm edge drilling plywood, and you always want like a perfect pilot drill for edge drilling plywood. I'm actually going to split it. And the last thing I want with this particular bit of plywood is to split it or like belly it in any way, because it's going to be my reference board for the braces to sit against. So if one of these screws has a bulge where the screw's gone in and bulges the plywood away, and none of the others do, it's going to cank my jig over at an angle. Not be accurate, so be as perfect as possible, this screw. So we're into 18mm, got 3.5mm pilot and a 4.5mm screw. They're 55mm long. Just want to make sure that your drill bit is going pretty much the depth of the screw. Hopefully now my squared over lines can match up with the square ends of these boards. Screw it together. Should have a perfectly square shoulder sections across this board. I don't know if this works, it's all a bit experimental. I can see it working, so that's normally good enough. I can use my trusty combi square, get them set on there at a similar position. Right, so as long as I'm careful with this, I should be able to do all of my tenon cuts. See if I'm giving it enough clearance now. Just one like a 80mm tenon, maybe if I cut an 80mm board, easy to set that up. Down the first one, rough depth, that tenon's going to be 80mm long. Pressed against the bottom. Slot that one in there. Got a brace that is curving like this, so we can screw into it from this space here. Trusty bit again. I just need to measure the overall of that. It's 138. I want around 50mm tenon. Leave 48. So 138 less 48 is 90. So I want 45mm deep cut off the non-rail one because it's off the top. So. Who's that everything? It looks lethal, but it should be the dream from now on. Don't think you're going to get any more accurate than that. Try and get a hole saw a little peephole, and then I can line that shoulder cut from the long edge up with this hole saw, a mark within this hole saw hole, and that will give me the finished length for the other shoulder. I don't carry this drill in my site stuff anymore. I've gone for the newer TDC version, but I much prefer the old one. It's just got the guts. It never says no. Box on the bottom edge until I get my shoulder line flush with that. Like so. Screw it in place. So this is the shoulder line of my brace. I can just mark a tick on there. If I always do it from this side, I know every single brace is going to be identically the same. So I can just set all my mortises out and it should all work out perfectly. So without the jig there, just checking I've set the track saw up along that edge, the rail, and set my square off of there on the other joint, and it's bob on. So really impressed with that. Got nice even tenons as well, 80mm on both of them. So I'm nicely set up for tomorrow just to get all them machined. Before I do that, I'm going to hold off a bit of tactical thinking. I ordered a saw blade for the spindle, so I'm going to run them all through the spindle moulder to put the tenons in, so the 80mm deep tenon. So I had to buy a bit deeper saw blade than I'd got for my machine. And I thought, as soon as it turned up, I thought, well, I should have bought two and I could just space them apart the set width that the chain mortiser will cut. So when I've worked out what the chain mortiser finished mortise size is, I think it's going to be around 48mm. I can set the two blades apart, so there's like 47.5mm tenon, and run them both through at once. That'll give me two saw lines in. Then I can put them in my jig and cut the shoulders, and that's a much safer way of working than if I were to cut all the shoulders first, then run them through the spindle. You end up with that loose piece of wood in the spindle moulder. and it might bind up and go flying through the machine. So I've got to wait for that to turn up tomorrow. Good old Amazon. So I think that'll about do us for today. Had quite a good day getting everything set up and organised, and it's always nice to get into a job and make a start. So I will see you tomorrow. Little side note, quiz question for the day. Has anybody seen one of them before and know what it is? I'll let you know tomorrow if I remember. But my old man's been banging on about one of these for ages. My brother finally bought him one, found one on the internet. But let me know if you've seen one and know what it is or what it might be used for. Quite a cool bit of kit. Does anybody know the laws on these things? Because they seem to fly over our property like constantly, quite low as well, and really loud. So anytime it's a nice day, you get nice weather, these guys are up making an absolute racket.